What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And the Rams play the Titans this weekend. They're going over to Tennessee, hopefully come home to Los Angeles 2-0. But before we jump into all the details, Cam Ward, Jeffrey Simmons, and all of the information that we're going to preview in this episode, first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I got a wedding that I'm in on Friday, so I'm off work today and tomorrow, which is nice. Starting the day off the best way possible with the Rams Bros pod. Got a nice little extended weekend, and then football on Sunday.
Very nice. Sounds like fun. Are you going to be, I would imagine, Nick's picks are going to be coming back strong this week. We're looking at this game. Rams are 5.5-point favorites. We were talking last week. We're like, what are they going to open up as? 7-point favorites, 7.5-point favorites. The over-under in this game is for total points is 41.5, and the Rams are minus 230 if you want them on the money line. Titans are plus 190. Guess how much money has been placed on the Rams in terms of percentage of bets placed so far via DraftKings?
Yeah, I can see that it's 94%.
Good guess. Correct. That would be correct. That's a lot of money being placed on the Los Angeles Rams right now. Nick, as our professional betting expert, Rams Bros professional betting analyst, what is your take when a majority of the money is placed on one team?
Well, the house always wins, so it's never a good idea to be on the side of the fools that where the 94% of the money lies. And also, I'm in a suicide league where you have to pick a different team every week.
Yep.
Most of the picks this week are the Rams, and the other half are the Ravens. So one of those two teams is due to lose one of these games in a bad fashion. So you really hope you're going into Philly 2-0 after beating the tougher team last week, and you can kind of just take care of business and handle the Titans. That being said, with 94% of the money on the Rams, I think it's going to be a very similar situation to last week where the refs were very much not in our favor and are kind of doing everything that they can to keep the other team afloat.
Yeah, Rams are going to be the road team in this game, right? So they lead the all-time series 8-6, including the Super Bowl win, obviously. But yeah, that's, they're going to be on the road. The refs are probably not going to be in their favor if they have some depth issues. You're not able to get Kevin Dotson and Steve Avila active in this game. You're probably going to have some depth issues, which could lead to holding penalties or false starts. I would imagine that that's probably going to be the case, but we'll kind of see what happens as we get into the rest of this week, and we see what happens with the injuries for the guys up front. And you're looking at this game and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, it's a good situation for the Rams. If they could be 2-0, they could probably afford a loss in Philadelphia the following week, which is not the mindset that you ever want to go into a game with. They probably want revenge more than ever, and to start 3-0 after the last two seasons would be incredible. But this statistic and the last graphic are via Roberto Clemente on Twitter, and he says Stafford has never beaten the Titans. He's 0-4 against them despite being favored in 3 of the 4 games. The last time was in 2021. It was a 16-28 loss. The Rams were 7.5 home favorites, a game in which he took a beating, but after the loss, Stafford went on a 9-3 run and won the Super Bowl, as we all remember very well. And Nick, there's actually a pretty interesting clip from that game as you were in the building and were actually interviewed pregame by a fan of the pod, Jake Reiner, and one of our good buddies. Should we play that clip? I think our producer might have it teed up.
Yeah, if the producer has it teed up, might as well play the clip.
All right, let's roll the clip.
2 members of the Ramilly family with him. Jake.
Hey there, Jim. I'm excited to have my 2 guests with me. We've got Nick Vespi of the Rams Brothers podcast and Ryan Dyrud of the LA Football Network. These guys are diehard Rams fans. And on your pod, Nick, you predicted a blowout because the Titans don't have Derrick Henry. I assume that went into your decision.
Absolutely. Ryan Tannehill is a subpar quarterback. I think Matthew Stafford is the real deal. 41-27 final prediction, Rams.
Do you remember what the final score of that game was?
It was 28-16. Rams did not look good. I mean, I was right on the money, though. Tannehill, not in the league, subpar quarterback. Matthew Stafford, the real deal. He goes and wins the Super Bowl that season. Also, I want to give myself a little props. That throwback Rams Super Bowl sweater when they're playing the Titans, that's cool. And
I would totally agree. I was going to actually give you a shout out on that separately.
Yeah, that was a nice fashion choice by me. Shout out Ryan, who laughs at me when I say Ryan Tannehill subpar quarterback. And if I were to do that again, I would not shotgun a beer right before going on national television.
Well, you live and you learn. Hey, it was a decent prediction, and the team was on fire before it happened. And then, you go into winless November. And this is actually some revisionist history we have here. This is what Jeffrey Simmons did to the Rams and Matthew Stafford. And you guys probably all remember this game really, really well. It started a streak of losses. They lost this game 28-16, Nick, as you mentioned. And then they lost on Monday night in San Francisco. They lost 31-10. And then they lost in Green Bay, which everybody remembers was like the force-feeding Odell Beckham Jr. game when he was finally in the building. They lost that game 36-28, and I think they had a little bit of a late comeback, try and get back into it. And then I think they had their bye week in between the San Francisco and the Green Bay game, so they came out of the bye with a loss. And then they hosted Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, and they kicked their ass. But I mean, like all these highlights that you're seeing on your screen right now, Jeffrey Simmons is so overly dominant. That last bull rush that you saw against David Edwards, who was actually the Super Bowl winning left guard and went on to play in Buffalo. There's just power. There's so much strength up front with this Texans interior defense. Sebastian Joseph Day is there. Trevon Sweat. So they're really talented. They have a lot of beef up front. So to not have your interior guards in this game potentially is where the fear potentially comes in. And it's where, you look at Stafford's record against the Titans, you look at the spread, could be a bit of a trap. Not saying it's going to be, but could be.
Yeah, they're similar. It's a similar team to what we just saw defensive wise. They are not as stout on the run. They gave up a couple chunk runs last week against the Denver running back. And I think that's going to be the difference of this game is if we can start establishing the run early. And I know we tried to last week and we, stuck with it and end up helping us, clinch the game on that third down with how the runs were designed prior to that third down. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to run the ball well, and I think you have to take pressure off of Stafford because if you make him drop back too much, that there's a chance that these guys just get home early because they're freaking big dudes.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of a combination. You're seeing just the depth chart and some of the starters for the Tennessee Titans. I talked about Sebastian Joseph Day, Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, but obviously some of the linebacker play is talented. Their front seven is talented overall, and they obviously in their secondary they have some names: L'Jarius Sneed, who everybody recognizes, Xavier Woods, Amani Hooker. So there's talent all throughout the defense. And they even have some depth with some of their rotational pass rushers. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. Rob was banged up, obviously, in this game. You saw Avila. You also saw Kevin Dotson potentially banged up. We're not sure what's going to happen with either of those players. McVay did not rule them out for Sunday's game against the Titans. But it's going to be so important, especially coming off of last week. And you saw this within some of the pass protection numbers. The Rams were bottom tier in terms of overall pass protection. They had the worst graded pass protection in week one. You look at the tape, it was attributed to losing Avila, to losing Kevin Dotson, having to rotate in guys like Bo Limmer and Justin Dedich, right? So that's potentially what you're going to see this upcoming week. But Stafford was still the highest graded quarterback amongst all quarterbacks in week one, with the Rams having the worst graded pass protection. It's just not sustainable is what my fear is.
No. I mean, not when you're playing this great defense and then followed by probably the best defense in football in Philadelphia the following week. And then a tough Colts defense right after that. And then immediately after that, San Francisco. So, I mean, you really have to worry about, the offensive line depth going into those games because it's just really strong defense after really strong defense. There's nothing you can really do if Stafford can't stay upright.
Yeah, there's going to be right, exactly. And you don't want to be in a situation where you got Jimmy G in week 2 or week 3. Guys like Justin Dedich, Bo Limmer, they have to step up. Beyond them on the current depth chart is where it gets a little bit scary because you're going to have to pull a player off the practice squad. You're going to have to potentially rotate in a DJ Humphries or a David Quessenberry. guys that have experience playing the exterior, but not as much experience playing the interior. Warren McClendon is another guy that's pretty much unproven, that they have a lot of belief in. But if anything happens to Havenstein, who had the offseason shoulder surgery where they cleaned everything out, you got another vacancy at right tackle, and teams that have strong exterior pass rushers are going to be able to tee off on Matthew Stafford, who's not mobile in any regard at this point in his career. So you look at all these things, and you're also looking at too, like, where could they potentially get better, or where could they potentially fill in some of these vacancies and make up for some of the injuries that have occurred in week one and throughout camp and throughout practice. So Davis Allen has a knee injury. He's limited, but is progressing. The reason why you're seeing Terrence Ferguson on your screen, the Rams' first draft pick in this past draft, is because Colby Parkinson is also hurt. He has a shoulder injury. He hasn't practiced all week. We talked about Avila and Dotson, and we also talked about Havenstein. So it's a good opportunity for them to potentially involve somebody like Terrence Ferguson. And if you saw the clip from Dan Orlovsky from last week, or actually it was from this past week, it's from a couple of days ago, where he talked about just marrying together all of their concepts, right? Talking about working out a 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets. If you have somebody that's hurt, if you have a Colby Parkinson that's hurt, that got a ton of snaps in week one, you're going to have to fill that vacancy with somebody like Davis Allen or Terrence Ferguson. But to be able to marry all those concepts together, to move Puka Nacua all over the field, to get the matchup that they want, to have somebody like Puka Nacua going against a linebacker or a slot corner, somebody who's not prepared physically and mentally to be able to guard him, puts this offense in a really good position, even if Puka Nacua is hurt and is missing snaps.
Is that on the table?
No, I mean, it happened last week. He missed what?
15
snaps or so.
Right. So you scared me there for a second.
Oh, no, sorry.
I heard it too, Larry. I just think the keys to this game, like you watch the Broncos game, they turn the ball over a lot. Bo Nix just looks like to borrow a phrasing from myself, subpar quarterback last week against the Titans. But they come out with the victory. I think if you can just control the ball, Kyron, he doesn't fumble, and Stafford, continues to be the vet that he is, keeps controlling the ball and doesn't turn it over in like a ugly manner. Maybe there's like a deep throw that gets picked that's essentially a punt anyway, completely different scenario. But if you're smart with the football and you just play the game that that you're going to play, I think you can just walk out of here with a win and not feel too scared. I mean, going into this preview, I felt so much better. And then you flashed the 94% of the money on the Rams. And then I feel like I'm like turtling. I'm like, this really feels like it has the.
No, you should have confidence. I think the one thing that Orlovsky video should have instilled is a ton of confidence just in the Rams' offensive play calling. I know it was only 14 points, but there were some execution things. There's some plays that they probably could have had back. But for the most part, schematically, that Texans defense is really tough, and to be under duress as frequently as Matthew Stafford was, and still be able to execute, is credit to him, but also credit to Sean McVay as a play caller. So via Next Gen Stats, we talked about Puka Nacua. He caught 10 of 11 targets for 130 yards in the Rams' Week 1 win against the Texans. He aligned in the slot on a career high 44.4% of his snaps and was targeted on 7 of 14 slot routes, resulting in 6 receptions for 78 yards. And then Cam DeSilva chimes in and says the Rams used 12 personnel 42% of the time on Sunday, which was the 4th most in the NFL. Hell yeah. Jordan was right. The prophecy is true. The Rams are going to be leaning into their 2 tight end sets. So like we mentioned, Terrence Ferguson is bound to get the opportunity. Talked about how Orlovsky shared the breakdown, but it's really just the versatility and the alignment. Look at how many different alignments Puka Nacua is in pre-snap. Right? Yeah. You see him in the slot. The only spot you really don't see him in is in the X position all the way out wide. You see him inside. You see him in motion. You see him trying to get that matchup with a linebacker or an inferior slot corner, somebody that really can't guard him down the field. And look, you could see where he's making all these catches and where this Rams scheme is truly effective against a talented secondary. And this secondary is not as talented. The front, specifically just based on the interior matchups, is going to be tough, but Rams have an opportunity to pick it apart if they can protect the quarterback.
I think today you see less incredible, I think Sunday you see less incredible concepts, trying to get Puka downfield in like a long extended play, and more So the jet sweeps and the quick throws that he can like kind of get upfield, because if he's under duress early, if Stafford is just like getting hit nonstop, they're going to be trying to get the ball out of his hands quickly to avoid an injury. And I just, like I said, I think Kyron is kind of the key here. If he can just pop off on a big run, every now and then in this game, then I think you're feeling really comfortable.
What I think they're going to do is they're going to try to set up explosives. Like you'll see it where it's, I wouldn't say telegraphed, but you saw it towards the end of last week's game against the Texans where they ran twice. You saw it kind of set up, and then that third play was the play action explosive to Puka to break the game open and to win it and come home with the victory. So, like, I think if they're going to generate explosives, because that's the way Sean McVay's brain has to be wired, right? It's like, let's run a couple of plays, and then eventually we're going to have to take the shot downfield. Yeah. Like, eventually we're going to have Matthew Stafford drop back. Whether it's in play action, which sometimes they feel like they can better protect him in those scenarios because you have the extra pass protector in the running back, especially in blitz situations. But there's so much that you could do with Matthew Stafford just because he's so incredibly talented. So it's just a matter of taking those shots at the right time. And I think McVay's one of the best at doing that. You could tell based on this last game that it's well timed and
it's
well
calculated. Yeah, everything is happening for a reason. The way that that those final three plays happen, especially with a penalty too, it was like it pushed them back and it didn't even matter. Kyron was still able to pick up those yardage because of how it was all designed. So that was I mean, they're probably going to try to. I mean, like I would like to see them utilize Tutu a little bit. Like the Rams just dropped a video on their YouTube channel the other day, like Stafford's 20 longest throws as a Ram. A couple of them were Tutu and Van Jefferson, and I'm like, come on, let's see one just all the way down the sideline.
It's weird because you're seeing it with Xavier Smith, right? Like he had the explosive play in the big situation last year, but like that probably should have been Tutu's rep. So I don't know if Tutu was on the field, but that was one of the plays that Orlovsky showcased because they were in a trip set on the right, and the way that they pushed all the defenders down the field and just drew the attention, and then their routes broke off all simultaneously, led to that explosive happening. So, like, as long as you can protect your quarterback long enough, the Rams are smart enough in terms of how they develop their route concepts to make things happen. It's just that's such a big factor in this game because of the talent Titans have.
That was one of the scripted plays, right? After halftime, they came out and they had that.
I think so.
Drive. Yeah.
It was the third down conversion to Devontae, the explosive to Xavier, and then the rollout fading back to Davis Allen.
Right.
For the touchdown. Yeah.
That touchdown was just so pretty.
It was beautiful. Vintage Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So this, I think another thing too, like this is a big storyline that went under the radar because the Rams got the victory, but it's not as dramatic as like a Malcolm Butler, Bill Belichick Super Bowl situation, but to just bench a veteran and to give him no snaps in a game where, you're expecting him to be a starting corner. This was via Gary Klein, veteran cornerback. Darius Williams did not play in week 1 because of coach's decision to go with the rotation of Akella Witherspoon, Kobe Durant, and Emmanuel Forbes, said Sean McVay. And then I went to go research Darius Williams on ESPN, and up pops a picture of Emmanuel Forbes. And then you look at the snap counts, and it's like, where's Darius Williams? I mean, they signed him to a pretty big contract. Obviously, was banged up last year. But do they really think that tandem of Witherspoon, Kobe, and Emmanuel Forbes is better than what you can get at Darius Williams at this point in his career?
I mean, I think that's exactly what they're saying with their decisions. I mean, they're probably not going to come out and say that outright, but that's what they feel the most confident in. And it also, it God forbid, but if there is an injury, you do feel a little more confident that you have somebody brought in for that position just to be able to step right up.
I think what's interesting about this too, like when you look at Cam Ward, some of the most impressive throws that he made were up towards the sideline, like by the boundary, like a full extension from one hash mark to the opposite sideline.
Yeah.
And you could see he's got real NFL arm talent. Like some of these throws are really impressive. Some of them are incomplete. There was a lot of drops in this game, and you saw it with his dad just kind of reacting to it in the stands, just how upset he was. But this secondary is going to be tested. I mean, you saw like Cam Ward's final stat line. It's just not reflective of the talent that he showcases on tape whatsoever. And I just remember back to week 4 of last year when Caleb Williams kind of ran around and threw for 173 yards, but came away with a victory because our offense couldn't get the job done. But just overwhelming amount of talent with the first overall pick in Cam Ward. So your secondary, especially stretched 30 yards down the field on the boundary, are going to be tested.
Yeah, I liked it a lot what I saw from Cam Ward. It's another quarterback that can pick up some yardage with his feet, but it has more eyes downfield, which is what you want. I mean, he looked phenomenal. I just don't think they're going to go anywhere with the current coaching staff that they have right now. I think he may be one of the first coaches fired. Maybe they let him play out the whole year, but I think Cam Ward could end up being like a special talent. And the Titans fans, even with a loss last week, are probably sitting there like, all right, we have our guy now, at least. You know what I mean? So like, there's a little more the positivity in the building. I just think that their coaching staff, I mean, I don't know why you'd keep the guy who ran with Will Levis all year.
Well, that's, they're in that transition period. It reminds me of the Jeff Fisher era, right? Where it's like,
bringing a guy who's transitioned from city to city before.
You bring him in for that first year. You see how things operate. If it's stale, if they win 4 games, it's an opportunity to fire that coach and bring in the next, hot ticket. And this year, I'm trying to think who it could potentially be.
Here's my prediction. You want to hear it?
You sure?
This is our last year with Chris Shula.
It's probably a solid prediction. If they continue to hold teams to less than 10 points, then Chris Shula is going to get hired.
I mean, you turn around this defense who once had Aaron Donald to look like they still have an Aaron Donald. Like I know, you got to give credit to the men up front as well. But I mean, Shula has been, especially coming to the point too, where we were talking about him on the podcast, like, all right, McVay's lifting buddy is going to be our D coordinator. And he's, it was like an amazing hire.
Yeah, it was. And that's what happens when you have good brain power in the front office, right? When sometimes internal hires can be tricky, but it's somebody who learned all 3 systems. It was the Wade Phillips, Vic Fangio, Brandon Staley, and then also the Raheem Morris, saw all those iterations and now has come to the building and has his own spin on it with a younger, less expensive defense. I think the Rams and the Eagles are the 2 least expensive defenses in the entire league. And to get as much out of them as what you're getting, I thought the Rams defense against the Texans were more impressive than the Eagles were against the Cowboys. And obviously, Eagles are missing Jalen Carter because he spit on Dak Prescott. But
I think Cowboys have a much better offense, though, in general.
Probably. I think they're a little bit more explosive.
Yeah.
And their offensive line plays with more continuity.
Who would you rather have, Dak or Stroud, if you were to start a team today?
Oh, it's just if I'm starting a team, it would be Stroud. I think Dak's already 32 or 3.
Yeah, I guess for longevity reasons. Okay, let's say you're trying to win a Super Bowl right now this season. You want Dak or Stroud? Dak.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would want Dak.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. That's such a tough. It's a world that I just don't want to live in.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. It's a hypothetical. Yeah. We have Matthew Stafford. Yeah. We're okay.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's what we got for today. And I think that it's probably time for everybody's favorite part of the week. One more time.
Nick's picks, week 2. Last week, I had a whole preamble before the theme song, but Dean, I think you should just let it rip.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hold on one second.
It's always, theme song is only played. Okay.
Brothers born, the throne awaits. A gambler smiles for a happy fate. Give us your picks. Demonstrate. Slide right in. The people await. Rams Bros Underground. Rams Bros Underground. They made a vow to always have a theme song.
That's pretty damn good, honestly. It sounded like Tenacious D.
That's what my fiance said.
What is it from? What is that?
It is from a TV show called Sonic Underground. It was a Sonic spin-off TV show where he had a brother and sister named Sonia and Manic. and it's like triplets born, the throne awaits. It's this incredibly kick-ass theme song that it perfect for a scenario like this. Are you looking it up?
That is what some call a deep cut.
Yeah. I don't know if the Venn diagram of Rams fans and Sonic Underground fans right here, I don't know how big that is, but doesn't matter. I had a really fun time making that theme song.
Good thing we're 25 minutes into the episode and 95% of the audience is probably tuned out. All right, what do we got for this week?
Last week we went 2-3, which is in all honesty not too bad. We're down a single unit this season, and to quote the quarterback that kind of made us lose, JJ McCarthy, there's no other place I'd rather be right now. Dean ended up being up 1-0, which is a lock. Which was a lock on the Rams. The only time in Rams Brothers history Dean has ever done better than Nick at gambling, ever. Can you believe that? All the hashtag Nick heads out there providing me that data. The hashtag Dean heads are yet to comment. So, Dean, before we get started, why don't you give us a lock of the week?
Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown.
Oh, he's going back to the player props. We know that that's a bad well for him. But all
right.
It's
It's a lock. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
Devontae anytime. I love it. All right, let's move on to the official picks. 49ers at Saints. Spread is Niners -3. Injury bug has hit San Francisco yet again. Purdy very unlikely to play. Kittle on the IR, so he will officially miss our matchup on Thursday Night Football. And Shanahan said they will be actively looking for a veteran QB and a tight end to come in and fill these positions in the meantime. And they're still favored, and they'll still win. It sucks, but that's just how these scrums stay relevant. With a super weak schedule, they'll beat the team in front of them with Christian McCaffrey alone. Defense will continue to terrorize the opponent. Speaking of the opponent, last week, the Saints looked slightly better than the team with an over-under set at 4.5. I think they'll likely steal a couple wins here and there, but I doubt this will be one of them. I hate the Niners, but I love money. So give me the backup Niners versus the healthy Saints. 19-16, 49ers win a clunker, and I'm taking under 40.5 in this one as well.
So 49ers, what, cover 3.5?
Yes, 49ers -3 is the official pick.
49ers -3.
And then under 40.5.
Over under 40.5?
Yeah, under.
Okay.
And then moving on, we got Pats at Dolphins. Dolphin. Spread is a pick'em. Do the Dolphins have any fight in them? The man, the myth, the legend, Colin Cowherd, the GOAT of quick picks, the reason why this segment exists at all, because I love his Blazing Five so much. He always takes a team that just got dog walked the week before, the next week, because the money always leans the other way. Follow the books, everyone. If the house always wins, then play on the side of the house. I hate what I saw from Tua, but I really hated what I saw from the Pats. Undisciplined. You made Geno look like a star. Drake May made some bonehead plays. It brings me joy seeing that the Pats have to go through 3 rebuilds in the span of 3 years. Have fun with that one, guys. Plus, it's Pats Dolphins in Miami. Even in the Brady times, the Dolphins had some weird Miami voodoo that always allowed them to split with the Pats, kind of similarly to the Pete Carroll Seahawks and the Fisher Rams. I'll take 17-26 Dolphins, very similar to that Rams-Titans score that we had from 2021. I don't think it's close either. I think maybe the Pats try to mount a comeback in the back, but I think the Dolphins actually look like a complete team. So I'll take the Dolphins straight up.
Dolphins straight up. So that's just Dolphins money line?
Yeah, it's a pick 'em. They don't even have a spread on it. It's just pick a team.
Jeez, that's going to be just a disaster of a game.
That's what do we do here on Nick's Picks? We find the ugliest game and we usually dive right in. It makes the red zone viewing more fun when you have money on.
There's a couple of games this week that I just feel like are highly illegal to bet on. This is one of them.
Jags Bengals, I think, is another one. I think if you touch that,
I don't know. Is that on your list?
Coming up next, we got – no, I'm just kidding. Eagles at Chiefs. Spread is Eagles -1.5. It's a Super Bowl rematch, but don't tell that to the Eagles. They had no idea. It's a new season with new teams. And, they dropped a banner last week. They didn't know that they did that. They have no idea they won a banner. The Eagles are just an exhausting team to follow. It's like the friend who just became a horrible person over the years, and you think, my God, I just feel bad for you that you have to keep this act up all the time. But you can't deny it. The Eagles are still hungry. They grind out a divisional win after losing their best defensive player in week 1. And then they get beautiful Eagles luck where the Cowboys' best receiver just drops like 3 huge balls. They're going to be a tough out every week, and they're going to be 2-0, I think, going into the Rams match week 3. Chiefs are going to be 0-2, and they're going to turn it around after that and then start becoming the Chiefs again. But they're getting the Eagles at a bad time, I think. I think the Eagles are just going to, see this game. They're going to see the Chiefs, and they're just going to try to roll over them any way possible just to show the world that, hey, we're still the guys. I'm taking Eagles -1. I hate, like I said, I hate the Eagles, but I love money. Give me Eagles -1.5, 32-14 Eagles.
Okay. Oh, -1.5, not -1.
What do you think about that one?
I thought you were taking the alt line. I just don't know. The Chiefs, they're going to be at home in their home opener, the more desperate team. I thought the Eagles looked a little bit shaky in terms of how their offense was structured. One big play offensively, one in terms of the pass game. I don't know. I think Kansas City is going to be hungry. I don't think they're going to want to start 0-2.
Kansas City, you think is going to be Marty Wolf? Hungry.
I feel like that game would make sense also as a pick 'em. So I don't know which way I would lean.
It might end up being a pick 'em. So often when I hate watch a team, like I get the bad ending, like every time I watch the Eagles, I feel like they always win. So that's how it works. When you hate watch, that's specifically how it's supposed to work. Yeah.
So let's run it angrier and angrier. Go ahead.
Let's run it back with some extra thick straps. 49ers -3, under 40.5 in Saints Niners. Dolphins money line, Eagles -1.5, and then my quick pick is the Colts over the Broncos. I want Daniel Dimes, baby. He's my player comp. Apparently I am Daniel Jones. So I will. Him and I are going to merge and form one sort of super person.
Yeah, that seems like a crazy pick, but I don't know. Crazier things have happened before. I didn't think the Colts were going to absolutely annihilate the Miami Dolphins, and then
I didn't think the Broncos looked that good either. I think everybody wants to talk about the sophomore slump of Jaden Daniels and how that's inevitable, and I'm like, Bo Nix wasn't really that great. So I mean, he's definitely more likely.
I have faith in them. I figured they would start a little bit slower, but I have faith in the Broncos. I think they're going to be a tough out later in the season. And you never know. They could win the division. If it's not the Chiefs, is it the Chargers? Is it the
Chargers?
Broncos?
I'm taking the Chargers over both. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Well, that's what we got for you this week. Nick, I think you're going to continue to stay on a hot trajectory. I think I'm going to be 2-0. I think the Rams are going to be 2-0. I think the Eagles are going to also probably be 2-0, and then we're going to have a crazy week 3 matchup. But for the sake of this week, I'm excited. We appreciate you guys as always. Just a reminder, if you guys are enjoying the content and you're still here 33 minutes into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. As always, Nick, any final words before we send it off into the weekend for Rams? Titans?
I just appreciate everybody that comments. Just because I love reading the comments, and people will be like stream of consciousness, just like writing stuff as the episode's happening. That's like my favorite thing. So shout out to all you guys in the comments. And yes, road to 10K subs this season. We want to get to 10K. So please share the video, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully we come back. Rams are 2-0. We do a better help ad read to start the episode and then run into it.
Hashtag road to 10K. Go Rams. We appreciate you guys as always. Go Rams. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.